we're here to talk about your film Backspot, which is or having its world premiere here. Has it already screened?
Yes, it has already screened. It had its world premiere this past Friday.
How was that?
Honestly, it was great. As any filmmaker, can say, you're living with the piece forever, and it's in your head, and then you're on set, and then you're in post, and you're kind of just like, Frankensteining this thing that, has been inside of you, and then it's finally out in the world. And yeah, it was a very warm response, and people were very excited, and there was laughter, and then, the audience was tense kind of watching it towards the later half. And so, yeah, it was, all you could ask for.
Very cool. For people who might just be discovering the film, can you give a synopsis of what Backspot is about?
Yeah, so we follow our lead character, Riley, and her kind of journey on getting brought up to this kind of elite cheerleading team called the Thunderhawks, and really just dives deep into the realities of cheerleading. We see the grittiness, the athleticism of the sport, the toll it takes on their bodies, Riley's mental health, and then kind of diving in deeper to Riley's relationships and her influences around her, like her mother, her girlfriend Amanda, and this new kind of figure, Coach Eileen, played by Evan Rachel Wood.
Very cool. It's a very compelling story, and there's a lot of really interesting and very relevant themes in this movie when it comes to obviously like having that pressure on yourself. Themes of like body image come up in the film. Tell me more about your intentions on what you wanted to convey with the story and what you wanted audiences to really grab hold on when watching this movie.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I want to give cheerleaders the respect they deserve. Like, it's a crazy sport. It's super athletic. Name me another sport that involves throwing bodies in the air and then catching them. And even just diving into the position of the backspot. We're always thinking of the flyer and how crazy that is to fly so far in the air. But for the backspot, that body is hurling towards you. And if the stunt goes wrong, you have to step forward when everybody steps away. So you're, it's just like so physical. These long hours, these long kind of like pressure situations for all leading up to kind of competition time. And yeah, I just feel like cheerleading, in pop culture, there's such like a gravitation for us to cheerleaders and cheerleading and the sparkles and the dazzle. And, while that's all there in the film as well, I wanted to kind of go a step beyond and get into the grittiness of it.
That's awesome. I don't know, maybe a shameless plug for one of my favorite movies to watch, but when I think of cheerleading movies, the one that comes to mind is Bring It On.
Of course.
I love that movie so much. I actually just watched it not too long ago.
Oh, amazing.
It's so fun. And so, obviously, when I hear about a cheerleading film, I think about that one, and I wonder how much of an influence did a film like that, or maybe any other cheerleading film, or even films in general. Tell me about the influences for Backspot.
Yeah, I mean, Bring It On. Classic cinema. I feel like even when I was kind of going around pitching, the very beginning seedlings of this film, I would say, it's like Bring It On, but if Darren Aronofsky directed it.
That is a really great way to explain it. I love it.
Yeah, so people will be like, oh, okay, that makes me question and think about what that perspective shift would be. A corollary that we used a lot was Whiplash.
Yes.
That pressure, that intimacy between a performer or athlete and kind of like the coach or the teacher, and so kind of wanting to explore that. But yeah, I mean, so many cheerleading films, and they mostly lean camp or comedy, which is much needed and so fantastic. Bring It On does it so well. Right. But I definitely think we're definitely stepping in a different direction.
Very cool. And I like I said, I really love that analogy with Bring It On by Aronofsky. But also you mentioned Whiplash, which is another movie where there's so much pressure to perform. That's huge. I guess I want to know where the inspiration for this film came from. What made you decide you wanted to tell a cheerleading story, and how does this relate to your personal life?
Yeah, so funny enough, one Halloween I dressed up as Gwen Stefani for the Hollaback
Very cool.
era. And there's something about putting that cheerleading uniform on. It really does do so. It's almost like a superhero costume. And so from there, I started DJing and playing drums in that cheerleading uniform when I would perform as an electronic artist in kind of like the underground clubs in Toronto and kind of like would tour all over the world. And it really did something to the audience to see a cheerleader kind of beating the drums and sweating and DJing, and there was such a reaction from the audience, but also such a power from that uniform. And I think those kind of were the beginning seedlings. And when you watch cheer competitions and those performances, they're so heavy EDM, electronic, laser sounds and stunt sounds, and that's very similar to a lot of the music that I play. So I was like, there's so much overlap here that I was immediately drawn to the cheer community and to the cheer world. And then, you know, starting to learn more, we've been working with Cheer Fusion in Brampton, a cheer team who've just kind of opened their doors to me, and they would just allow me to sit in practices and come with them to competitions. And there's just so much there in the practices, and these young women are athletes, and they're so incredible, and there's so much poise and determination and focus that, you know, again, haven't really seen in pop culture and in TV and media. So I really wanted to kind of highlight what it feels like to be in these gyms, and then what it feels like to be at these competitions.
Right, absolutely. You're talking about the empowerment that comes with the cheerleading suit, which is something that I think Riley is very in tune with how athletic this is and how much of athletes that they are. There's a conversation in the movie that she's having with her fellow cheerleaders about that, but there's also this, kind of getting back to themes, there is this idea that comes up about image and body image and what a cheerleader is supposed to look like at the elite levels. Tell me more about what you want people to take away from those conversations, and if there's, I don't know if there's like a call to action that you're hoping for, or like, just let's talk about that theme. I think that was a very powerful scene and something that is very prevalent in the cheerleading field.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many different things to talk about in cheer, so many like topics, and we knew we couldn't fit it all into one film because we wanted to focus on Riley's journey. So the sleepover scene is kind of where myself and my writer really wanted to hone in and see what other kind of conversations we could pop in there. And one of those being, you know, the male gaze, about how the male gaze affects cheer so much in terms of young women and what they're wearing, and then also body size, which is something that is very, you know, in the cheer community. If you have a certain smaller body type, you're more likely to go further than if you have a larger body type, which is also just unfortunate because an athlete is an athlete, in my opinion. And so we really wanted to kind of spur those conversations and have our characters, you know, be debating and thinking. And I think the great thing is everybody's right. And I think that was my favorite part, you know, kind of getting into the script and then working with my actors on set, is everybody's right and everybody was coming from a very passionate place. And those conversations are a little bit left there for the audience to think about and chew on, and hopefully it does spawn conversations and after the film.
Absolutely. I think my favorite kind of films are the ones that inspire you to have conversations after. I don't even need them to have any kind of conclusion to come to. I just want that door open so that after the movie, obviously we talk about the movie and what we enjoyed about it, but also here are some very important conversations that we should be having. Let's have those. You're talking about working with your cast. I want to know more about how that was and the casting process and yeah, just the experience of working with the cast here.
I mean, I am an actor's director. I love working with actors. It has to be one of my favorite parts of filmmaking. And just to be able to work with so many amazing young people, people who are just like ready and eager, and so many people who even just auditioned would come into the room and kind of let us know how much the script meant to them and how seen they felt. And that was just so incredible to kind of get that feedback. We started early in our casting process. Obviously, you're not just looking for actors, you're looking for athletes at the same time.
Oh yeah, because they're doing the flips, right?
They are doing the flips. Like
there's no camera tricks here. You have very long shots of them doing the tumbling and doing the tricks and everything.
We had indie film. Well, we did not have, like, we had stunt doubles for a couple minor moments, but like Devery's doing all of that herself. And Kudakwashe, you know, when we kind of found her and she was the cheer captain in her high school and just, you know, bringing her back for kind of callbacks, like what an incredible human being, such a smart actor and so great, and just kind of like really workshopped with us. It was important for that character to also have chemistry with Devery, and Devery was in all the auditions, kind of working with all the actors. So we were so excited to find her. For Noah DeBerto, who plays Rachel, I think kind of later on in the script, I realized Rachel needs to kind of bring comedy. I think that's something that I was missing. There's a lot of drama and anxiety and love in the script, but I was like, where are those pops of comedy? Because, you know, in life, everything's not dramatic all the time. And so finding her tape, it was instantaneous for me. I was like, I have found my Jennifer Coolidge of the film, and cool. I need her. And then we saw her, you know, tape that she also submitted of all of her flipping, and she is one of the best cheerleaders in the country. She's on one of the top teams in Canada. So we were so happy to kind of those things to happen in one person.
That's really cool. This film is based on your short film, correct?
Yes.
I want to, if you wouldn't mind, talking a little bit more about the differences and maybe the challenges of doing the short film and then expanding that into a feature-length film.
Totally. So I feel like, you know, the short film was really a proof of concept. That's the way we approached it again when, you know, kind of workshopping. I knew I wanted to tell a sports film. I grew up in a very sports-heavy household. Football was very important. Race cars were very important. Hockey was very important. So I really wanted to dive into how sports affect family relationships or just general relationships, even when you're kind of off the field. And cheerleading, you know, presented itself, and that's ultimately, you know, where I was called to. I think for the proof of concept, when you say cheerleading, people have their own ideas of what it'll be, and so it was important for us to make the proof of concept to kind of show like there's an intensity here, the tone, and so that really did help when we had that kind of visual piece to go along with, you know, grant applications, but also just like pitching people, you know, this is what we're going for, which is different from what we've seen.
Absolutely. Very cool. I'll go ahead and wrap up with one more question. And this is something that I really like to talk with filmmakers about and get their perspective of, because, you know, art is an ever learning experience, right? And so I want to know like what it was about this project that you were able to take away from that you learned or that was new to you in the process of making this movie.
Yeah, I mean, as a, you know, this is my debut feature film, it's just like learning, which is so fantastic. And I think for me, a big lesson was you learn how important your department heads are and how important your team just generally is. Like, you all have to lean on each other. And, you know, we're all carrying so much on our shoulders individually. And yeah, it's just so important to surround yourself with great people and great creative people, but people who are ultimately passionate about telling that story you want to tell. And if you can kind of align everybody and focus everybody on that one kind of goal, it kind of becomes like a sports team. It kind of becomes, you know, like we're cheerleaders, and we're all in it together to reach that goal together.
I love that so much. I am excited for more people to see it, and I, of course, want to congratulate you on the success that this film has had being here at TIFF, and of course your directorial debut, and I'm really wishing the film and your career, of course, the best going forward, okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.